Deleted Session, December 27, 1971. Now, good evening. I arrived somewhat earlier, as you have heard. Rob said, yes. They said, now, Robert may sometimes object to the terms used to describe his work. On a surface level, the seeming shift from writer to psychic annoyed and bothered him, but it was always the same work, and he knew it. And he was always driven to do whatever must be done in order to produce it. In terms of this life, the justification of existence entered in. As I told you, the tale that he told himself, in other words, to see that he did his work. He is magnificently intent, persistent, and determined. When the situation allowed him to do so, he immediately began to pare down all activities not directly connected with his work, to shake them off, to force himself to be disciplined, to cut distractions to minima and thus avoid conflict, to his way of thinking. He did this quite wholeheartedly and with a vengeance. He would not have an ordinary job. He would force himself into a position where he must indeed make good through his work, financially and otherwise. He tried to emulate what he thought your actions would be in the same circumstances at the same time this began. You had the discipline by nature, he thought. He did not. Therefore, the enforced solitude, the narrowing of other interests until his vitality was forced in one direction, the inner direction. He gave stimulus to his mind with coffee and cigarettes, whipping it to make it go faster and faster. At the same time, he gave less and less nourishment to the body, denied it exercise, until it began to wither from disuse. He goes inward, then, with great applied focus, but held the body in such tight reins that he denied it both energy and attention. Now, you particularly earlier are created in this. Neither of you saw anything wrong with the basic ideas behind it. You will have only quarreled with the results. I outlined your joint ideas about food. In the same way, your joint ideas about your work and the world in general were taken and put into literal action by our friend. You had a history of bodily achievement in terms of sports. That led you to take an additional joy in the body that tempered the basic concepts you held. Robert did not. The tendencies to so withdraw and deny the body were early obvious, but unrecognized. In college, only the body's miraculous youth protected it. When Robert did not eat properly, subsisted mainly on coffee and cigarettes, and went without proper sleep for months at a time. He often hid from fellow students out of shyness and fear of confronting them. He would hide in his poetry. The tendency then was there. He had no great faith in the body, because he saw how his mothers behaved, without any knowledge of the reasons. The body was not strong, therefore. He did not trust it. He trusted his mind, so the idea of retreating from the body into the mind was quite logical to him when this began. For reasons given much earlier, you both worried about the body mechanism in terms of childbirth, and it suited both of your purposes to minimize the possibilities in that direction, and to save yourselves from the monthly fear that a birth might have resulted. Robert put his body on a strict survival level, giving it the barest of attention. He is in the habit of ignoring its feelings, attitudes, or desires, so that he is quite numb to some of them. Ralph said, "Well, I hear him do enough complaining about it," meaning the symptoms. Seth said, "Numb to the body's desires for exercise, motion, air. Do you follow me?" Ralph said, "Yes." Seth said, "Again, however, understand that both of your attitudes worked here, though he exaggerated some indeed. You both considered the world in many respects as distracting. Stupid is people beneath your notice, and your work the only thing of importance." Given the opportunity, and as soon as he was able, Robert then retreated from it, and gave himself the excuse for doing so. Your attitudes made flesh. Before, necessity would not allow it. He lifted over that barrier, and when you thought you had given him the opportunity to be free, he was not about to misuse it. He would force himself to devote all his energies in that direction. To silence, for example, any stray temptations to go out into the yard in walking time. To visit friends. He would see to it that he could not give in to such temptations. Now, the body quickly made its protests known, and the Robert squelched them whenever possible. The body was not important except as it supported his ideas. His will would drive it. A good number of his depressions were body depressions. The body was depressed, pressed down, and this of course affected the psychic state. He hides his body in his dress. His face is in good condition, because he considers that the mirror of his soul, and allows it therefore free enough expression. He trusts his head. He has been satisfied with the bargain. He felt it was necessary to inhibit physical expression in order to concentrate all of his energies inward into his work. He felt it was necessary to inhibit physical mobility in order to facilitate deeper penetration into inner reality.